Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back after it feels like forever. I know you've given me loads of grief about it, Martin. You say I'm on all these holidays. I promise I've only got 3 more left this year. But no, I had a great time in Mexico, and thank you for you lads for filling in while I was away. And thanks for everyone for tuning in and supporting the channel. But yeah, we're back. We're going to be going over thoughts on Villa's start to the season, thoughts on Emery, thoughts on the transfer window, and then your comments and your questions, your views, your opinions. It's your show, guys. So get all your thoughts and comments coming in, and we'll go through as many as we possibly can. First of all, though, Martin, how you feeling, mate? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, Mr. Sutherland. When's your next school holiday? I'm just wondering. All these holidays you've been taking. You swear you're a secondary school teacher. You had about 3 months off, I think, did you? I think the Halloween midterms coming up. You might be off for another 2 weeks.
It is. There has been word of going over to Amsterdam to then nip over to Alkmaar for the Conference League game. But we'll see about that. We'll have to wait and see.
Well,
that won't be a holiday though.
Well, in fairness, I am going on holidays now next Saturday.
Yes, I've heard.
Turkey,
yes, so you can't talk.
This is only my first one. You've had about 10 of them.
And Max, I know this is probably I think this might be a hat trick, your third show, but first with me. So how are you doing? And yeah, that intro is courtesy of you. So amazing stuff. But yeah, first time we've been on the pod together. How are you feeling?
Not too bad. I mean, as you say, you've been away for weeks. It's a bit jealous. I haven't been away yet this year, so I am jealous.
Well, mate, I can't help it. It's just how it goes. But yeah, it was really good, and so weird, like getting up at 8 a.m. and it being 2 p.m. in the UK. That was weird. I still couldn't get my head around the time difference. But yeah, all good. And comments are absolutely flying in already. Who have we got in the house? Duncan, evening, Duncan. Great to have you in, mate. Deontay as well. Michael, good evening, mate. Great to have you on board. Gary in the house. Hi, everyone. Happy international break to one and all. Yeah, I know, mate. It's boring. Duncan says, good news. His DRB home strip has been delivered. Fantastic. King Richard is back. Yes, he's back. I don't know about King, but I'm definitely back. Michael, yeah, welcome back. Glad you didn't get abducted, but you experienced any last time. But I'm getting the old jet lag. I think it hasn't really hit yet, and yeah, didn't see any aliens in Mexico, unfortunately. Rachel, hi all, great to have you in. Jean, hi all, welcome back. Rich, really missing the Villa. Not interested in England. Bring on Saturday, absolutely. Evening, Mark, great to have you in, mate. Who else is in? Gary said you've been to Mexico. I'm off to Cleethorpes. Yeah. Hey, don't slag off Cleethorpes. And Gaza in the house. Evening, lads. Martin, I think you bumped into Gaza, didn't you, in the tavern?
Yeah, I know. I actually bumped into Gaza in Mowgli in the Moore Street train station. So we had a
fantastic.
drink. And then we went to this nightclub sort of thing. I think it was called One Nightclub. And we had this espresso martini as a drink, and it was rotten. Like, honestly, I took a sip and I went, oh. But it was free. So what I did was, to make it look like I had it empty, I literally gave your man the full glass, and I took that one, and then we took a picture of me with an empty glass, thinking I'm after drinking the thing. And then we went to the tavern and we met Rich. So that was good crack as well. So
fantastic. Well, look, it's always great to meet people who watch the show. It's fantastic to even have people watching. So I know I keep saying it, but yeah, fantastic. And yeah, Gaza enjoyed the session. So awesome stuff.
And don't
while I'm here,
you see the head of hair he has in that picture. He's actually bald, so don't be fooled.
He's outed you there, Gaza. He's outed you. But yeah, while I'm on, guys, do hit that like button, do hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 3K. We haven't quite got there yet. We're very close to 2,500 subscribers. So please do hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Help us spread the word of the channel and help increase our viewers and keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So lads, let's kick off with the start to the season that we've had and your thoughts on that, and we'll get everyone else's thoughts. 4 league games in, defeat to Newcastle, heavy defeat to Newcastle, comfortable victory against Everton, a potentially tricky game against Burnley that we saw off quite comfortably, and then again a fairly heavy, disappointing defeat to Liverpool, interspersed in there, comfortable victories against Hibs to get us into the Conference League. But yeah, in general, first of all, Max, I'll come to you. How would you kind of grade it on a sort of A to E level, should we say? And then kind of what are your general thoughts on the season start so far?
I think a B is pretty safe. I think if you're given us the start in terms of points and getting to the group stage, you would have taken it before the season started. I think it's just the way we've lost those 2 games are a bit of a bugbear for everyone in terms of conceding 7 in 2 losses. So I think a B is fair, and I think the points are good enough, but it's just the results haven't been ideal for the losses.
Yeah. And I guess for that kind of situation, I know you've tweeted a couple of times. I know we've had chats in our group. I know shouldn't get too carried away, but a 5-1 defeat to Newcastle, a 3-0 defeat to Liverpool, albeit at difficult away grounds as they are. Are you slightly concerned about that in terms of those level of defeats, or is it the fact that it's early season and we can't read too much into it?
I think the Newcastle one was a lot to do with the injuries we'd had. I think everyone was quite flat. It was kind of like, especially the second half was very, very flat. Everyone seemed a bit dejected and that kind of thing. So wouldn't look too far into that one. The Liverpool one was a bit probably more disappointing for me in terms of going into it quite confident and coming out with being smacked pretty much. So yeah, the Liverpool one's more concerning for me.
Yeah. And coming to you, Martin, and I'll give my thoughts in a little while. It's first of all, how would you grade it in terms of A to E, let's say, and then what are your kind of general thoughts on that start to the season that we've had?
I think I'll be along the same lines as Maxi. I'd be saying a B as well, because although the 2 wins against lower oppositions were very comfortable, the Newcastle game was just a capitulation. I thought we were pretty much still in it at half time, but Newcastle just exposed the high line really well and just kind of caught us on the break a lot of the times. The Liverpool game, we never really got going because Liverpool are such a high pressing team. So, and the fact that you think it would have suited us, considering we tried to bring teams into our opposition box and tried to break away and go from there. But with Liverpool, I just don't think that works. It completely contradicts what we tried to do, because they press so high and they win it in such high positions, and they expose the high line as well a lot of the times. But then again, we still had our chances against Liverpool, so I wouldn't be reading too much into it, and I wouldn't be reading too much into the Liverpool loss, because we had our chances, we just didn't take them. And on another day, you're probably thinking that's 3-3, or we probably win 3-2, like, because the Salah thing was offside impeding Martinez's view, but it never even went to VAR. And then, so I'd say it's a B, a B minus, if anything, just because of the level of defeats and how well we've won against lower oppositions.
Yeah. A couple of comments coming in. Gary said 6 out of 10 so far. Could do better, I suppose. Aston, the Villa fans in, up the Villa guys, and Adamski's in the house. Rich is back. Dunk said Liverpool match was unlucky, to be fair. First goal was offside. Gary also says that centre-back partnership will be a concern every game, unfortunately. Could be another trophy-less season for him. That's quite concerning. Kev in the house, C-. Those 2 defeats were way heavier than they should have been, and we've basically beaten the dog and duck in the other games. Rachel says the performances have been difficult for the losses. Lots to work and improve on by everyone. We'll talk about the FPL League shortly, so thanks, Aston the Villa fan. And Duncan said Torres is a better defender than Ming. So for me, I'm still a little bit concerned, and I think Gary's said there about the concern. that we haven't necessarily. We will talk on the transfer window and Emery in a second, but the two defeats to me have kind of highlight the fact that we haven't. And this might be just early season, but I don't necessarily think we've improved on what we needed to improve on from last season. Like, yeah, fair enough. DRB is an upgrade, and you can see how kind of ruthless he is, but we still seem to lack that strength and that bite and that kind of character in the central midfield. We still lack a bit of pace at the back, and we still can tend to lack a little bit of quality in the wide areas. And I'm just a little bit kind of puzzled as to why we haven't improved in those areas. Because if you're wanting to, as we are wanting to as a team, to press and to kind of keep improving and push on in the league, then you want to try and beat those teams at the top. And yes, fair enough, we drew against Liverpool 1-1, and Emery got his tactics pretty well, and we hung on and that, and we hung on to get the draw, and we've obviously beaten Tottenham at home. We got good results against Man United, but those two results against Liverpool and Newcastle really do concern me in the fact that if you're wanting to compete against those top teams, the first thing you have to do is win that midfield battle, and we don't look like we're going to win a midfield battle against a top side on the evidence of those two games. Yes, we'll beat the teams that, the Evertons and the Burnleys and stuff, because we control in the games now, and we set up attacks and we do really well on that. But for those clutch games, those really high pressure games, I don't know where we've improved as a side. Now, I don't know what you lads think of that, but that's kind of my thing. Like, I have concerns about Kamara. I have concerns, playing McGinn in those areas where if he can't get in the game, like he's a little bit isolated. Watkins, again, is a concern up top if he's not getting the ball. And as I said, that pace at the back is a little bit of a worry. Like I say, it's not against those teams towards the bottom of the league. It's against those teams where you're looking to step up.
But I also think it comes to the fact that the injuries that we have, if you think about it, I think Jacob Ramsey is a huge loss in terms of carrying the ball from like midfield to do attacking toward, and you might get fouled and all of a sudden we're in a really good position for a free kick. And then you're missing Alex Moreno, who is so comfortable in getting up and down, who does good defensive work. And I think defensively, Dan Digna, where Digna is really good going forward, which is suited him. And then you're missing Tyrone Mings, a leadership quality in the back, and just someone who's been there for years, so it kind of helps other lads to progress. And then you're missing Wendia, who I think is another huge loss in that 10, because he's got a little bit of a bite about him. Although against someone a bit more physical, yes, you're right, Rich. I do know where you're coming from in terms of he does get pushed off the ball quite a bit. But then there's games where he has that little bit of bite, and it's very difficult to get the ball off him because he has such a low sense of gravity. So I think the injuries, is another thing to kind of look at, because if you look at the caliber of the players that we're missing, and when they come back, it's really going to push us on. So I think that's an element of, why maybe we've lost so heavily, because we're missing key players just for games where, you need a bit of character and need a bit of bite.
Yeah, I agree. It is, injuries are a factor, and, you couldn't legislate for the fact that, two players are out for the rest of the season within the first kind of, week of the season, so to speak. So I do think that plays a part, but I still don't think like Ramsey is a miss in a game against a Liverpool or someone like that, because he gets you territory, he gets you forward quicker, he can carry the ball. But equally, you've got to be able to give him the ball. And like, I didn't watch too much of the Liverpool game, but to me, the Newcastle and Liverpool games just showed the same old problems of getting overrun in midfield, not having that kind of physicality, and almost being overrun. And I know I tweeted it, and Max, I don't know whether you have any comments on this, is that whenever we go behind in a game, we never win. Never win.
Yeah.
Like I think it happened once last season, or maybe twice. But I know it happened against Brighton away. But to me, that's a real concern as a supporter of a football club that wants to challenge for the top six. If as soon as you go behind, you're generally going to lose the game. We need to get our monkey off our back ASAP, and that points to a character or a leadership flaw in our team. Like it has to.
It feels like it's been a thing for years though, because I can't think, even like thinking back to way before last season, I can't remember many times. It feels like a thing that's ingrained. It feels just like, I think it's also like a, not that like the fans really play that much effect, but I also think it's like a, like especially at home, if we concede, it's almost, it goes a bit flat. It's like we're not getting, no one actually believes we're going to get back into a game, which obviously it's not. At the end of the day, it's not the thing that's going to make much of a difference. But I feel like it can have that effect to an extent.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost like a fair enough. Like Villa fans can kind of we get really excited, like any football fan does when we win, but we also tend to go on these kind of huge lows when we get beat, or when we concede a goal in the game. Like it just seems to be, you know, like I don't know, like a certain trait in Villa fans that we're like, oh, we've conceded, now we're going to lose. Where it's like if you looked at Liverpool against Newcastle, they went down to 10 men and they were 1-0 down with like 10 minutes to go or something. I'm not sure the exact timings, but they won the game 2-1. Now, like obviously their fans must have stuck with them, and they know that they're going to keep grinding the team. They're going to keep grinding it down. Games are like, no, I mean, it's crazy now. Games are like 105 minutes now. So we should be able to, if we keep staying the game at 1-0, and you'd never know what might happen. Like, and it just seems to be, for me, that a team at the moment just crumbles a little bit as soon as we go 1-0 down, or even 2-0 down, and it just seems to be like, let's throw the towel in, lads. It's done, and then we've got to really address that mentality issue for me, because it's going to bite us in the backside. I'm sure. I've got loads of comments coming in. Michael said, I don't think people really understand how much of a loss Mings is to us. Not going in on any players, but the period to settle in has been taken away, but I would give 7. Adamski saying Moreno back, at least. That's very good, yeah. And same as Duncan, great. Moreno is back, may even play left wing. Gaza Moreno will definitely kick us up a gear again and will give us options, says Rachel. David says, if Gerrard oversaw the first 4 results, the club and the fan base would be in meltdown. Why does Emery get a free pass? Interesting question. We will come to Emery in a second. Also, on the Duncan point, we'll come to Tielemans in a little bit as well. Scott says, we thinks we're better off than people believe. Michael says, we're still creating good goal-scoring chances, but we need to take them, definitely. Gary Edmonds says, early days and injuries have definitely hampered us, but I expect us to beat most teams, especially at home. Keep the faith. And Gary says, Watkins, Torres, Bailey, Carson, Kamara have all been dodgy this season. That's half a team. And Tielemans throwing his toys out as well. Not good. Duncan says, Watkins is the biggest discussion point. There is that contingent among the fan base who don't want to discuss it. So let's talk about it now. Martin, Ollie Watkins. I know Sam or Kev might have more to say, have a lot to say on this issue, but he's our main striker. John Duran's come on and had little cameos, and he scored against Everton, looked fairly lively in other areas. But I mean, to rely on him as your backup striker is a little bit difficult. Zaniolo's come in, can maybe play there. Diaby can maybe play there, but are we pinning our hopes too much on Watkins? I think he's 1 goal in his last 11 Premier League games. Is that a little bit concerning to you?
Not really, no. Like, don't get me wrong, it doesn't look good on paper, 1 goal in 11 games, but we need to think about what Ollie Watkins actually offers us, because he's so pivotal to the way Unai Emery plays. You know, he drops deep to get the ball, he brings players into games, and we've seen there he's pretty much one of our top creating chancers in the league. And for a striker to do that, that's incredible. We're not going to get, with all due respect, a player, like a Watkins, where they're trying to bring people into games and his holder plays really well. And yes, I'll agree, I do get frustrated sometimes when he misses pretty much an easy chance, but at the same time, he's been a top goal scorer for like the last 3 seasons, and these strikers that are getting double digits each year, they come at a premium. And if we were to, let's say we sold Ollie Watkins in January, who do we bring in to replace him? That's now your question, because it's not, because Ivan Toney looks like he's licking his lips to try and go to Arsenal or Liverpool. You're probably not going to get a Callum Wilson because he seems quite settled at Newcastle. Same with Isaac. Harry Kane, probably, if he next move from Bayern Munich, probably either Liverpool, Man United, or Man City. So who do you bring in to replace a Watkins that's going to get you the same type of thing? He's a workhorse, Ollie Watkins, but yes, I agree. Your striker should mainly be scoring goals, but if he offers you more than goals, I don't see why, personally myself, why we should be complaining. Because if we get rid of him, who do you bring in? That's ultimately the question.
Yeah, that's generally the question for most players, isn't it? And I guess we've put ourselves into a position. I'll come to you on this one, Max, as well, where Martin's right. You get rid of a player like Watkins, who's got double figures for us last 3 seasons. Looks like he's going to, overtake the goal scoring record or whatever, hopefully. And it was also quoted as, being looked at by Chelsea as one of the 3 names that they looked at, apparently. So obviously fairly highly rated in terms of what he brings to a team. But the flip side of what Martin said is, like, who do we bring in? The other point is he's literally our only striker. So what do we do if he gets injured?
I just, as much as I said that, talked with Kev about it last week, it was Duran is just a guy that's won a competition. It feels like he's good enough, but he's good at what he does, but is it good enough for the Premier League? Probably not. And then you also Diaby's been so good on that right-hand side where he's been, that it doesn't make sense to me, at least, to then force him up front to fit. Just doesn't make sense to me. The thing with it, when we were in the Championship and the years before that, it was always, I was questioned about spreading the goals around, because for years it was just Benteke or whoever. And now we've got a team that's everyone's scoring goals, and all of a sudden the striker's not scoring enough goals. I know he needs to score more, but at the same time, if everyone else is scoring around him and I think he's got 2 assists in his 4 games, then a goal will come. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, he got a hat-trick in the cup as well. Adam says, hard to bash Watkins when he's our only senior striker, sadly. Aston Villa fan says, Ollie's not coming out of my FPL team. He'll be on fire before you can say Southgate out. Yeah, it's one of them where if you take him out, guarantee he scores. Adam says 2 assists in his 4 Prem games and nobody else offers what he does. Gary says Watkins will play because of his work rate. Daniel, etc., won't track back, and our defence at the minute, that's suicidal. Lee says Watkins is a very emotional player, needs to work on that, and also draw some energy from being merciless. He's too soft at times. Yeah, I think that's also that part where once he scores a goal, he kind of feels like he's done his job, and then he doesn't go on to get the second or the third goal, to make himself that better striker. And then Kev's come in
I've seen this
with a couple of crackers. I've been thinking about this Watkins point a lot. We have to believe we can find a better striker somewhere with the position the club is in. And then, do you not finish with your girlfriend/boyfriend because you're worried you can't do any better? Kev, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure the club are looking at other options, and I'm sure Watkins, he hasn't, I think he's got 2 years left on his deal or something. So either, it's kind of make or break season for him. If he continues to do well, he's got a good bargaining position to get a high contract offer from the Villa, or he can move on. And at the same point, we will probably be looking for other strikers. I mean, I think the names that Chelsea were looking at, one of them was Jonathan David, and I'm pretty sure Villa have looked at him. Obviously, there's Nico Williams, who we went in for at the start of the transfer window. That might be an opportunity, at the end of this season. So, I'm sure they're looking at names coming through. Michael's still backing Watkins to get 20 this season, but he needs to take his chances. Duncan said Diaby up front with Zaniolo is a perfect option. And Gary said we haven't had 2 strikers who are good enough to replace each other except Ings, and I think he is past his best now. yeah, and I just don't think Ings necessarily worked for what we wanted. Similar to how Cameron Archer is, like I just don't think he quite works for what we need as a striker at Villa or a forward player. Adamski, if Watkins gets injured, we quickly trigger Archer's buyback in November. I don't think it worked like that, unfortunately. Adam Diaby, if we play him up front, we're wasting him. He won't hold up the ball like Ollie. Paul says, Rich, I think Watkins needs to be a centre back now. Watkins will be like Keenan Davis soon. He will go for nothing unless his contract is sorted, says Gary. And Rachel said, I think it's the risk. We could sell Watkins, but we most likely get someone who isn't a guarantee. In a way, Ollie is a guarantee of sorts. Certainly in terms of the way that the Premier League forwards or strikers are these days, like we've gone through it loads of times about, other than Haaland and Kane, and Kane's not in the Premier League anymore, there's very few strikers as such who score, 20 plus goals in a season. Like we've said, it tends to be spread throughout the league. And, if you look at Watkins' stats for like 2023 or something, he's pretty comparable to he's well up there. So I know he's frustrating. I know he doesn't necessarily kind of cover himself in glory, and he tends to be a goal scorer in bunches. Like he'll go this 1 in 10, 1 in 11, but then all of a sudden he'll get a goal in the Premier League. Hopefully it's next Saturday against Palace, and he'll tend to go on a run of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games where he'll score. So look, he's always going to cause debate. Tammy Abraham used to cause debate even in the Championship, and I think it's just a case of what we do with strikers. And I think Adam sums it up. For where we are currently, Watkins is the best we can get. Duncan said, but we paid 30 plus million for Watkins, not exactly a bargain. Would Brentford swap him for Tony now? Doubt it. If we had the big money for Tony, he would suit our system and can finish. Paul says we must sign a striker in January, Ivan Toney. We'll come to transfer talk in a bit as well. I did want to touch on where do we go next? There's a few comments about Tielemans and his. Actually, we'll come to that. We'll come to that a bit later on that. I wanted to touch on Emery and what your thoughts are on Unai. Like, obviously, he's done fantastically well across the end. Like last season, the impact he's had is unreal. Now it's kind of like getting more to kind of his team, his signings, his squad. I guess in terms of a question or two questions, Martin, to you first. How do you think he will have felt about the signings that he's made and the window that we've had? And then the next point, how do you think he's done since this start of this season in terms of if we grade in the team as kind of a B minus, how are you finding that Emery's done?
Well, in terms of the transfers, I think Emery's always been open about it that if he's interested in a player, he will go for that player. But if the prices is not right, if the wages aren't right, he'll just walk away because he's not that sort of man who's going to put himself there at all costs to try and get a player. It has to be right. So, and I tend to agree with that because, because you don't want to be this football club that's lashing lump sums of money out and high wages like Gerrard did, where he's admittedly, don't get me wrong, I do think Luca Digne is a good player, but to offer him 160 grand a week, that's where it could kind of get a bit ridiculous. And in terms of how we're doing, I think, and the question was, how come Emery gets a free pass with, if this was Gerrard and all that? I think it's because the way the two different managers play football. If this had been Gerrard, it'd be boring football. We'd be like, Jesus Christ, probably winning by the skin of our teeth. And then if we had these massive losses, yes, we'd be in complete turmoil. But the manner of which we won has been exceptional. The football we've played has been exciting, and we look forward to watching Villa play now. It's not like with Gerrard, it was just awful. And it was like, I'm not looking forward to this game or anything like that. Or even if you were going to a live game, the atmosphere seemed fairly dire when Gerrard was in charge. Now it's a bit light, when you're watching Aston Villa play. So I think this is why Emery gets a free pass, is because the manner of which we've won excites us to go into different games, and it gets us to look forward to something. And then in terms of the transfers, like I said, he's someone that if the price is right, if the deal is right, he'll make it happen. If it's not, he'll simply walk away because he doesn't want to be spending ridiculous amounts of money, even if he has it at his disposal. Because then the talking point would be, well, Rafa spending 60 million on this player, why is he not doing well? Or Rafa spending 40 million on a centre half who isn't even performing. You know, these sort of things come into it. So I think the deals that we've got in for the players that we have is fantastic. Yes, you could say Diaby was what, 50 odd million or something, but at the same time, he's backed it up, the performance wise, everything else. He'll be due a goal at Villa Park very soon. He will be, because there's no doubt about it. So, look, this is how I see it. That it's just a different styles of football with Gerrard and Emery. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you at all on any of those points, and I'm certainly not saying that. Well, the question wasn't to lead you into saying, you know, oh, he's not done great or anything like that. I think he has done very well. I'm just, you know, and I'll come to you, Max. I'm just sort of adding the point as to like, will this, you know, he's had such an amazing honeymoon period at Villa. There will come a time where there will be a couple of dodgy results, and we have seen the first signs on certainly on social media. I don't know whether kind of journalists have been saying it, but we have seen, you know, a couple of signs of, you know, people saying, oh, Emery got this one wrong, or he got the starting lineup wrong here, in their opinion, I might add. But, you know, and I did think he got it wrong against Newcastle. John McGinn absolutely tore Dan Burn a new one again at Villa Park. To not play him on the same side as that, I just thought that was really, really strange. So my point is will he come under a little bit more scrutiny this season if we do get, you know, don't get the, you know, the couple of the results that we're expecting, or if we continue to kind of flatter to deceive against some of the bigger clubs?
I think he's got a lot of credit in the bank from last season anyway, and he's also who he is. He's stubborn, but in the best way. He knows how he wants his team to play, and he knows that it works, and it will work. It's hard. You can't win every game, I think. And we've only lost to two big teams. We've won every game you'd think we should win. And if we'd beat Newcastle or beat Liverpool, it would have been nice. But no one's come in, as we said, not the way we've lost isn't the most ideal. But we wouldn't have necessarily expected to come away with those, like, with more than, like, realistically a point from those two games. So I think it's all very reactionary at the moment. If it comes to January time and we've lost to United, City, and all these big teams away, and have lost a few games at home, maybe then it's fair. Then it's a fair comment. But I think at the minute we've won the games we definitely should have, and we've lost two that we. It's just, as I say before, it's just the manner of those games, I suppose, that are changing people's opinions. But as I say, he's got a lot of credit in the bank just from last season, so it's got a while yet for me, anyway.
Oh, absolutely, and he's done, you know, fantastic. Well, if there is any manager, that he's going to look into the specifics of how and why we've been beaten, it will be Emery. I guess on the transfer window front is, I think a couple of the comments that he made, you know, to like right at the last day of the window, kind of intimated to me that he wasn't necessarily as satisfied with the window as he maybe could have been. I think he maybe wanted one or two more players in. I don't know whether that was constrained by, you know, financial fair play, or, like you said, Martin, if the prices weren't right, you know, people maybe know we've got a bit of money to spend and they're kind of hiking the price up. I'm not quite sure. But I do think he would have wanted a right-sided defender to cover for cash or put competition on cash. I do think he wanted another centre-forward player, because, you know, to let Davis and Archie go at the same time, albeit they, you know, Keane and Davis wouldn't have probably got anywhere near the first team, but I don't think that was his ideal. And, you know, to then, I know Zaniolo was an offer before Buendia got injured, but I think to lose Buendia, he might have wanted something else. So I do think, you know, saying that he was happy and satisfied with the transfer window, I think was maybe a little bit of a kind of, you know, you will say that kind of thing, you know, more of a political game than, and look, don't get me wrong. Every manager wants more players. That's how it works. They're never satisfied with their squad. But yeah, I do think there was a touch of that in there, because ultimately, right, it doesn't matter who the manager is. If he loses 4 or 5 games in a row, he can't turn around and say, "Oh, I've had a few injuries," or it'll all be better when so and so comes back. The fans and the media aren't going to care about that. It's about, "Oh, I need you to win matches now." So, that's the face of it. So, Michael said Emery must be given time. That he's by far the best manager we've ever had, and if we can't achieve anything with him, I think we never will. Adam says, is there money for him to make it happen? 2 loans and a free was most of our business. And his net spend, I think, was what, 30 million or something, 32 million.
Yeah, but just on that question though, is that yes, you could say 2 loans and a free was our business, but that was only because of the injuries to Buendia and Mings. I think if you didn't have those injuries, would them loans have come in? Probably not. But with the free, Tielemans was a free. I thought the caliber of his player to come to us on a free, I just think is a no-brainer. And I'm surprised that many clubs decided to capitalise on it as quick as we did. So I think personally, them 2 loans and the free was smart considering the situation we were in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just whether that kind of quote war chest is available. Whether the money was put onto Diaby, like we stretched it to 50 million or whatever, and would we been able to sign another 50 million player, so to speak, or something like that? That I guess is the question. Of course, it's great business. Season before last to get Kamara on a free, and now getting Tielemans on a free. That's fantastic business. And Zaniolo on a loan with an option to buy. That's really good business as well because it suits everyone. But was there the money to go after getting a Diaby and another? Or if we'd have got Abraham, let's say, if we were really in for him and he didn't get injured, would we have gone for Diaby as well? But I guess that's the question. That we've always had that kind of, with Villa, we've always had that kind of handbrake on where we've been able to go after one player, but we've never been able to go after 2 or 3 of the big high ticket players, and that's what stops you sometimes from going, into those higher echelons in the league. And I think it's where, we'll talk fixtures in a second. I think it's where we are going to find it difficult. Like we are. It's where Newcastle are going to find it really difficult because they're now playing the likes of Matty Target in the Premier League. They're now playing that. They might have to call on 1 or 2 other kind of fringe players to play in the Premier League because they've got Champions League. That might have to happen with Villa. Albeit we are in the Conference League, so we can potentially at home particularly get away with playing the likes of Kellyman and 1 or 2 others to give them that experience. But we are going to find it difficult, to balance that up. So that's going to be difficult. Paul says, will Villa be buying 2 strikers in January? Some Brazilians. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing where that has materialised. I know we've been interested in a young player from Port Vale, apparently a 15-year-old lad who's really, really highly rated. Emery won't leave until he's changed AVFC and won silverware domestically, Adamski thinks. Gary said Emery has done too well, too early, and there was bound to be a drop-off. Look at Newcastle. Yeah, as I've just said.
That's a fair point to make.
Yeah. Duncan said, hope Emery stays for years. Paul, hi, Rich, Max and Martin, how are you? We're very well. Hope Villa have a great few months. Yeah, and so do I, mate.
Same here.
Michael says, still work to do, but when was the last time we went 8 games unbeaten at Villa Park in a row? Yeah, exactly. And Villa Park has turned into that, that cliche, that fortress, and that's what is going to keep us, if we continue that, Max, that's what's going to keep us kind of in that area of the top 10, top 8, because you are going to pick up the odd result away from home, of course, but if you can consistently win games at home, that's just going to keep you towards the top anyway, isn't it?
Well, it was always the bugbear. It was always we were okay away from home and lost every week at home. That felt like a thing for years. And then, I mean, saying that was really in the Championship. We won. Felt like we won every week at home.
Yeah, we had a good home record in the Champ.
And then obviously, then Premier League with Dean Smith kind of fell off a bit more, and then it's come back now, obviously. But mean, they've had a season ticket for 10 years, and I think probably 5 or 6 of that at least have been pretty patchy. But now you go in every week at least thinking we've got a chance. Even the big teams come in, you think if we're at Villa Park, we've definitely got a chance.
Absolutely, yeah, and it is vital, as I've just said, to have that good home record, because that's where you keep the fans with you. If you are losing 1-0 in a game or something like that, then that's where you do know if you've got that home record. That's what keeps people in, and you know that you can grind out results. Adam said other teams have visibly improved. Have we? I guess the proof of the pudding's in the eating, really. I don't think we've had long enough. I think those those last 2 games, as you said, are a little bit of a worry that we've lost. But you can't really tell until 10 games in, really, Martin, can you? Like, it's so difficult to say that. Like, I think this time last season, I think we had 3 points out of the first 4 games. We've got 6 out of the first 4. If we've got something like between 16 and 20 points from the first 10, I think that would be a really good first part to the season. I don't know about you, but I think it's a little bit difficult to tell that we have the other, West Ham have had a great start, but could they go on lose the next 3? I just don't know if we've had long enough in the season to tell how much other teams have improved or not.
That's it. Like, some teams go through the gears. Like, remember when Arsenal, they lost their first 3 games sitting bottom of the league, and people were thinking, oh, that's it. Arsenal's getting relegated. Gone. See you later. But they ended up still finishing 4th with a Champions League place. Man United have had bad starts to the season, and look, they've still gone on to win leagues or finish in Champions League places. Like, and then you've seen in times where at one point Watford were top of the league after winning 4 games in a row. Southampton were top of the league after winning 4 or 5 games in a row. And look where they are now. They're not even in the Premier League. So for the first 4 to 5 games, yes, if you get a good start, happy days. It keeps everyone happy. The fan base is happy. And then obviously the flip side of the support side, people are thinking, oh, blah, 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 blah. But when you get to the business end, when you get to the stage where form starts picking up, where that temporary of class starts to come in, that's when you can tell, right, they're going to finish here, they're going to finish there. And the same can go for Man City. Sometimes they've had a bad start where they've been like sitting 6th, and people are thinking
last season they didn't have a great start at all.
They didn't start too well. They were sitting 6th or 7th in the first 5 to 6 games, and people were thinking, oh, Man City probably won't win the league game. It's too late. But the thing is with Man City, when they get to the business end of the season, it's win, 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 win. They just don't lose or draw. It's just literally win. So, like, first 4 games is something we should never, ever read into. Yes, in terms of performances, you can read into, but in terms of how many games there is to play in the league, that's where you should go, right, not enough to read into. When you get, for me, I think it's when you get to about 15, 16 games before you hit that Christmas period, that's when you start to cop on to go, right, these teams are going to finish here and there. And you can predict who's getting Champions League, who's getting Europa League, who's getting the conference, who's getting relegated, and all that, etc.
Yeah, agreed. Loads of comments. I've got to get through them, guys, so please bear with me. Adam said, I still think we need better than McGinn if we really want to push on. He's either great or a passenger looking lost between the
No.
That's a harsh call. That's a harsh, but look, it's all about opinions.
No.
One thing I would say on McGinn is I do agree with the fact that he's either fantastic or he does seem a little bit lost. And in those 2 games, the Liverpool and the Newcastle game, he was sort of caught in between 2 positions. Whereas the Burnley game and the Everton game, he was absolutely fantastic. And for Scotland, he's excellent. I do think the fact that he is right. He's been backed by every manager that's come into the club, so he's obviously does something right. Of course he does, and there we go, Adam. But is he the first name on the team sheet, which your captain should be? That's the question I'd ask of you 2 boys.
Come again? What was the question?
Is he the first name on the team sheet? Because he's the captain. Is he still the first name on the team sheet?
I don't think it's just because he's the captain. I think it's what he offers you. If he plays in a free role, I think McGinn is exceptional. Because we see it with Scotland, he plays a free role, and you see the goals he's scoring. You see what he gives you off the ball. It's off the ball what he gives you in that free role, because not a lot of players do that. But when in the 2 games against Newcastle and Liverpool, he was predominantly on the left side, and I think he doesn't really like that, where he kind of has just that one straight run. Where if he's on the right or he's in centrally in a free role, he tends to play a lot better. And I just think those are his 2 positions. So for me, I think that it is a bit of a controversial one, Adam. Fair play to you. You've kind of given us a good discussion point.
Look, it's all about talking points. Absolutely. It's the fans forum, so that's what it's about.
That's it. So, but in terms of him being on the left, no, because I think we, funny enough, I seen the thing there the other day on Twitter. We predominantly press better with McGinn when he's on the right side. I don't know how, because Luiz seems to shift a bit forward and Kamara seems to be a bit deeper. But when we flip the script, Kamara doesn't do that little push up and Luiz sits. So, like, that's why I think McGinn is better on the right. So, yeah. Maxi, what do you think? Because you look like you want to get a point there before I ask what was the question.
I mean, I just like the first name on the team sheet thing. I just think we've got so many of those kind of players at the minute. I think our whole midfield at the minute picks itself, like in terms of McGinn, Kamara, Luiz. There's a lot of comments about Dendoncker and Tielemans, but I mean, I'm one of the biggest advocates for Dendoncker, as everyone knows. But at the minute, there's just them. They're not going to come out for me. I don't know about everyone else. I just think those 3 are just untouchable at the moment. Might not have had the best start, especially for Kamara. But I think they're all 3 of them are just like they're the first 3 names that come on in my list.
Absolutely, they've got a nice balance about them, and I don't think any player is doing anything like specifically wrong. I think it's just, and I think players will interchange and come in and out as the season goes on. Like, I think there's a comment from John. I promise I will get through comments. Actually, let's get them in before I kind of give my thoughts. Paul mentioned about this player from Port Vale. So we're looking to sign Freddie Laurie from Port Vale, a young, great talent. Rachel said complacency is a problem for managers, players and clubs. A manager who always tries to improve is key. Duncan says Zaniolo is a good signing. Adam, I will come to your point in a second because we do need to talk on that. Duncan's a shame he missed out on Fatty. Ahmed says as good as our 2 centre midfielders are, they do have some really poor games. Surely Emery can't be happy with only 1 senior striker, FFP, or maybe just not the big bucks there. Alan says 4 first-teamers out, lads, all down the left-hand side. New defenders who need time to adjust to Emery's way. Top team spending 3 times more than us. Just give Emery time, Conference, Cup, and top 10 up the Villa. Very, very well put, mate. Rachel, I don't think Emery found who he wants, so he sticks with what he has. Adamski said we should have gone in for Maddison or Barnes. Well, I think Barnes has really set the world alight yet. Michael said, I believe the money is there, but we should not get hung up on this. Yeah, true. Adam says, I want to see how well we play against one of the bigger teams at home now. Yes. Gary, has our optimism for preseason diminished? Mine has now. I don't think so. I don't think it's really diminished. I just think it's one of those where we are kind of where we are. You know, we've got through in the Conference League, which is great. We've got through a tricky game against Burnley. I just think we haven't quite hit the heights against those 2 top teams. But I hope we can learn from it. That's the point. Ahmed said he should try Dendoncker and Kamara in midfield, especially away from home. Gives us more physical presence and a bit more height for set plays. I totally agree. Dendoncker is fit. He's certainly worth a shout. I think the point with Dendoncker is he just hasn't quite got that pace. I think he needs to be fully fit to kind of really read the game well. I think he's one of those players. But yeah, I don't disagree with that. John says, Jesus, the season has only got started. The mood is shifting already. we're not going to get a better manager. Just keep the faith and results and form will come. I think we have got the best manager we can hope for. Absolutely. I just hope that the club can move, as quickly as he wants to. Duncan, the Crystal Palace game would be the best test of mid-table side team, and ones who are good. Gary said McGinn is untouchable for him, and he is the captain. Duncan's not sure he should captain, which is an interesting one. Gaza says leadership, tenacity, assists, big arse. What's not to love? Exactly. Rachel, I don't think you can take the captaincy away from McGinn now, whether it's right or not. EM says McGinn isn't the issue. When you start a game with Watkins and Bailey on the pitch, you are 2 players down and instantly putting the rest of the team under pressure. Interesting point. I don't know if EM is code for Sam. Maybe, I don't know. Adam said, I really don't like McGinn playing a wider kind of role. He won't beat a man. We need another winger, and McGinn in the number 10 for him. David says, so if McGinn's not effective on the right, why playing there? Some decisions are not making any sense. Adamski says, maybe Emery's been trying to make us not so obvious positionally by putting McGinn on the left because we're a lot better when he is on the right. So, in interesting stuff on the positions. And I do think, there's been times where we've maybe it's not been quite right. Now, the point I wanted to make, and Duncan's put it here, and a couple of people mentioned about Tielemans needs to start. And he's obviously been asked in a couple of interviews, or one interview in particular, where he's kind of, to me, I wouldn't read much into it as such. I think he was asked the question, and is he disappointed? I don't know how the question was worded, but it essentially said he's had a conversation with Emery. He's told him about it. He's going to feature in the plans. He's got lots of plans for him for this season. Just needs to be a bit patient. He's obviously not too happy about not being in the starting lineup. For me, that's what I want for my players. I don't know when I was coaching, I don't know any player that loved being on the bench. Even if they were injured, any player who was 70% fit, they would want to play. And if you told them, oh, sorry, mate, we're starting so-and-so, they'd be peed off about it. So that's what you want from a professional footballer. So I don't really see the problem with it. And I guess he's given us, we talk about wanting our players to be straight and answer straight and be honest. And I think he's been fairly honest. So I don't necessarily have too much of a problem with it. And I don't really think, like I say, if he's to turn around and say, "Oh yeah, I'm fine to be on the bench and I'm just waiting till I get an opportunity," then I want him to be disappointed. I don't know about you boys. I don't know what you boys think of that.
Yeah, I think the press has made a bigger story than what it probably should be, because they probably asked him a question, "Oh, how's your playing time?" And he probably turned around and said, "Look, I'm not too happy at the moment, just because Emery said he's going with these 2 players for now." And I think that's right, because you have to earn your place. You can't just, be expected just to be thrown in, depending on what position it is and whatever that you might upgrade. But if you look at our midfield with McGinn, Tielemans, Ramsey, Kamara, and Louise, you're going to have to earn your place. It's not a case of this is going to be given. Just because we signed you doesn't mean you're getting ahead of these players. You have to earn your place. You have to earn your trade. So, and I'm the same as you, Rich. I like that he's not happy, because it shows the mentality that he has, that he wants to play week in, week out. When was the last time we heard a Villa player come out and say, "I'm not too happy with my playing time"? I certainly don't remember. So
no, well, we've not had that luxury. I mean, at the end of last season, that team picked itself. Yeah. It was literally 11 players plus then Bertrand Traore coming on.
So, I like this. I like a player coming and saying, "Look, I'm not too happy at the minute. What plans have you got?" It was probably just a conversation. I say the press is he's thrown uproar, he's unset and all this. So of course you want to make a story. They're doing their job. I've nothing against that. But at the same time, I say this was just a conversation between a manager and a player. I said, "Look, I'm not too happy. What's the plans?" He probably turned around and said, "Look, you have to be a bit patient. You have to earn your place. But there will be games, considering we have FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Conference League, we've European football, for fuck's sake. Sorry for my language. But That's so he's gonna have to be patient. There is going to be rotational periods within this squad. Even in Premier League games, there's going to be rotational periods. So he has to be patient. We're only 4 games in, so he is gonna have to be patient. Maxi?
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think it's a good statement. I think it's one of those usual things where, like you say, the international club journalists will ask him a certain question, it'll get lost in translation or whatever. But Max, I guess the only kind of slight tinge will be if we, a couple of people, and me included, I haven't been particularly impressed with Kamara. I mentioned it in pre-season. I wasn't wholly impressed with him in pre-season. I haven't been wholly impressed with him since the start of this season. Have a couple more games where we don't quite get the result we want. He's still persevering. We say Luiz and Kamara. Is it then a case of like Tielemans will start to get a little bit more agitated at the fact that, well, hang on a minute, he's brought me into the club. These 2 midfielders, I'm better than them, because every player thinks they're better than everybody else. Yeah, that's why they're professional footballers. I'm better than them. Why is they continuing to start and I'm not getting a start? I guess that's the only little point that we can that might fester.
Well, I mean, I don't know about anyone else. I thought Tielemans was pretty dreadful against Hibs. I know it was his first start of the season and whatever, but against Hibs, Championship League 1 level standard, I don't think
was that the home game. I didn't watch it, so I know a few people were saying
that's because you were on holiday sunning yourself in Mexico, weren't you?
I was. I don't want to talk about it. I don't like mentioning it.
Watch it. I wasn't too interested. He was on holiday sunning himself. Give over.
But
yeah, sorry, Max. Sorry, we digress.
He didn't set anything alike really. He wasn't particularly great. But I mean, I know what I was saying about the press. I did do a story on it on whatever day it was, Thursday, Friday, because it was good news. But it was. I think it was an element of being lost in translation, a bit of Chinese whispers and that kind of thing. I think it was more of I've come here to play football at the minute. I'm on the bench, but I've been told I've got assurances that I'm going to be playing, and I'm trying to wait for that chance. I think you'd be worried if he come out and said the opposite, and I'm happy on the bench at the moment. I'll see if I can get some game time here and there. Then everyone would be kicking off that he's not hungry enough, so can't really ask for it. He's always, as you say, people want to play football. He's not come here to sit on the bench, so but then again, he's not. Luiz has probably been one of our best players this season. That's pretty much the role he's playing for. So he's got. He's not just going to get that game time because he signed in the summer. He's got to still got to be a reason for him to be playing. And at the minute, there's not that need for him personally.
Yeah, fair. I do think, like I say, I think that Kamara position for me, how he's playing at the moment, is a little bit of a worry. I think Luiz and Tielemans could work quite well. Just in terms of, like, I think what you mentioned it before, Martin, about that kind of press on Kamara. So Kamara likes to read it, wait for the player to maybe make the mistake, and then kind of nip in and get the ball off him, and then kind of pass it off. Whereas, like, if we are going to press a little bit more, maybe Tielemans can kind of keep that tempo going with kind of pressing, forward and helping maybe a Diaby or whoever's on that side to kind of keep the momentum going. Sorry. But yeah, loads of comments again. Yuri hasn't come to sit on the bench and rotate. We aren't a Man City. He needs more starts, says Adam. Duncan says Tielemans is quality. David says Zaniolo to start more games. I want to see more flair. No look passes, arrogance and excitement. Adamski says Calvin Phillips. He loves the bench. Gets him England caps. Gary on to Torres. We have to persevere with him now. He will make mistakes, but don't feel this is the right league for him. Or interesting stuff. I think he'll get used to it. I do think he'll get used to it. Marcus said it's been a decent start. Adam not been impressed with Kamara for a while. Rachel Torres, bless him, has had the worst introduction to the league. I think he will come good. Could be worse. Fleetwood Town have just appointed Lee Johnson. Yeah, I saw that. He manages to get jobs. Adamski, Manchester has better benches apparently. Duncan said Torres will become one of the best Prem defenders. Hope it's at Villa. Paul, I want to see Martinez, Dina, Torres, Carlos. Well, Carlos is out with hamstring, so I think that's going to be a tough one for him to get back in time. Luis, Kamara, Diaby, McGinn, and Watkins and Duran to start against Palace. So going with 2 up top. David says Tielemans has a bad attitude. He downed tools last season. He's now giving long monologues in the media about him being unhappy. Not a good look for him. Marco said he struggles with Dendoncker, to be honest. He's okay, but I can't see how he improves the team, but I'm open to him to prove me wrong. Max is in the president of the Dendoncker fan club, I think. So we've all got our player who we like or don't like. Duncan said, "Why not start Luis and Tielemans?" Yeah, just said that. Definitely. Adamski, a bit soon to be having a win. 6 matches in. Yeah, I do think it's. I think it was just basically a question he was asked. Look, and it's one of those where he's kind of took the bait a little bit. Neither are true DMs. I think Kamara and Tielemans for games, but depends on who you play. Adam says Hibs games was basically a training session, not judging anyone's performance by the Hibs game. Gary said, look, we're better than at least 12 teams, whatever. Just please, no more injuries. Paul said Alex Baena is the one Villa will go for in January from Villarreal to replace Coutinho. I've heard that today. They've been talking about that. And Adam must be planning the show with us because he's just asked the question that I was going to come to anyway. But before that, actually, I do want to give a quick shout out to the channel again. If you haven't already, hit the like button, guys. We've had over 50 watching today, which is really good for international break and all that. So please do make sure you all hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button as well if you're new to the channel. We're well on the way to 2,500, on the road to 3K. So please do continue to support the channel. If you do want to become a member as well, I have forgotten to say that, hit the $ or hit the join button and follow the instructions. It's just $1.99 a month to become a member and an official Villa Park Pod follower. And if you do want to donate to the channel, you can also hit that $ at the bottom. And any donations go to help progress the channel as much as we possibly can. How many points are we getting this month, lads? And that drew me into kind of looking at the fixtures. I want to say a little bit longer than that because we are, we've got international break, so it's the 16th of September is our next game. So I want to go into kind of into October as well as September. So we've got Palace at home on the Saturday the 16th of September.
Yeah.
We've got Legia away on the 21st of September. Sunday the 24th of September, Chelsea away in the Prem. Wednesday, the 27th of September, Everton at home in the Carabao Cup. Saturday, 30th of September, Brighton at home. 5th of October, Brzynski Mostar away in the Conference League. Wolves away on the 8th of October. Then we've got international break again. And we've got the 22nd of October, West Ham at home. Alkmaar away on the October 26th. And then Luton at home, October 29th. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Premier League games. 4 of them being at home. And we've got 3 Conference League games and 1 EFL Cup game. So it's a busy, busy time, lads. What are you? 1, the squad, 2, the points, and 3 kind of cup competitions. How do you think we're going to go? Max, I'll come to you first.
For me, just looking at it on paper, for me, I know it's not how football works and it won't happen, but I don't see there's a reason why we lose almost any of them. I think Brighton and Chelsea are the only 2 that I look, and maybe Alkmaar away are the only ones I look at without thinking we might come away with nothing, to be honest. I think the rest of them look relatively winnable. I mean, we're not going to get 24 points and 24. Hopefully, but I don't see that happening. But you look at on paper anyway, it looks like we could at least have 4 of the 6 wins for me.
So you 12 league points and then a good Conference League bash. Legia away. Zrinski home, Alkmaar away. 4 points from them, 6 points from them, you'd say?
Yeah, so I'd say the only problem is you've got to take into account is how close they all are together, I suppose. Because obviously it's almost every 3 days in some cases. But I think you've got to be aiming to beat both teams. I mean, Alkmaar got to the semi-final of the conference last year, so they're no mugs. They'll be a tough game. We've got to hope to beat Everton, really, at home especially. Probably beat the Legia and the Bosnian team. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. But then, as I say, I think most of the Prem games, I'd say all bar 2 of them should be wins, personally.
Yeah. Okay. So that's, that'll be a really solid time period, because that would leave us with 18 points, let's say. The ideal world, 18 points from, I guess that's what, 9, 8, that might even be 10 games by then. It would be 10 games by then. So that would be, 1.8 points per game would be pretty decent form. Paul Welford says, I think Villa will get 9 points.
Wow.
Which again is one of them where, win 3 out of the 6. Not too bad, I suppose. What about you, Martin? How are you feeling about the kind of upcoming fixtures and the pile up? Because that's 10 games, like I say, inside 2 months or a month and a half. Sorry.
I think we can get 14 points from the 6, 4 wins, 2 draws. I think we can manage that. I think we can manage that.
That'll be some form.
In terms of the Conference League, I think we can easily get 2 wins there, easily. And Everton, beat Everton in the Carabao Cup. Please, God, just get through the 3rd round or something.
United away.
No, United 4th round, 100% max. 100% max.
4 wins and 2 draws. Match that. That would take it to 20 points. That's 2 points per game average. That's kind of Champions League form. Now, for me, I think balancing that up with Conference League, I think in the best will in the world, I think we'd be good. I think we'd be good to get 10 points in the Premier League from those 6 games. I think we'd be doing well to get that. I really do.
Okay.
We're balancing it all up. I think we'll beat Everton in the Carabao, because I think they will rest a lot of players, considering the battle for staying in the Premier League that they will be in already, that they're in. And I think you're right. I think 2 wins out of the first 3 would be pretty par for the course. I think maybe even 2 wins and a draw would be pretty good. Let's have a look. I think we will. What's this? I think we will win all 6 Prem games, both European games. We win League Cup against Everton. Okay, interesting stuff.
Win every game then.
Tell you what, if that happens, get him on the pod. If that happens,
Gary said top 2 go through. Yes, I think it is. But we want to. Rachel said we want to top the group so we avoid the dropouts from the Europa League. Adam says we should be winning every game in that Conference League group. Lena Pedersen says Alkmaar is not that good. Player from her team in Norway, and someone else has said that Gary said that they've sold 4 of their best players, so they won't be as good this season. Yeah, and then Deontay said the top team advances to the Conference League round of 16, while the second place team will play a playoff game against a team that finishes 3rd in the Europa League. So there you go. Top. Yeah, and then 2 biggest challenges in football of reviving AFC to former glory in England, getting silverware. Absolutely.
No, we won't read too much into England.
No, we don't want to talk about England. Okay, so look, no. Fixtures look quite, like you've said, quite favourable. It's just the amount of games. But if you can get on a run of momentum, that can really push you on, and I think that's where we'll do well. I wanted to a couple of other questions I wanted to raise before we finish up. I know there's been a lot of controversy, or not controversy, it's probably the wrong word. Social media opinions on the ticket pricing, and I guess some of the communication around kind of tickets for people and punishments, and I guess kind of it's almost as if, and I'll give my opinion first and I'll ask your opinion, lads. Like, I always think that there was a real unity with supporters and club at some point, and I think we're in danger of like losing that a little bit in the sense of, because we're improving and we're trying to push on. I think we're in slight danger of the expectations of the club and where we want it to be, and then almost like what is presented to the fans as a product, not on the pitch, because on the pitch it's great, but off the pitch, for what people feel like they're being charged and what people feel like they're being asked for. It's almost like a bit of a disconnect. Like, I know people have talked about kind of now that, you know, we're being asked to pay 20% more on season tickets. We've been asked to pay more for, you know, extra money on the game for the EFL Cup. They've maybe got it a bit better for the Conference League, but that's more games that you're expending. You're then being, you know, if someone dares to, you know, ask someone for a ticket of theirs or, you know, whatever, they're being threatened with lifetime bans and all this kind of rubbish. And then yet they can't get the queuing system correct at the club. They can't get, like, you know, people, you know, the technology to kind of give people more than even half a drink before half time isn't there. The people behind the kiosk serving people take forever. The what's on offer at different parts of the ground isn't the same. The transport links to the club are terrible. Like, it just seems like there's certain things out there that are being kind of touted, and there's certain things on the veneer of everything that looks amazing, but behind the scenes, it's almost like, I don't know, League One standard almost, but we're being asked to pay above Premier League prices, and I just don't quite know if we've got that balance right. I don't know if how you boys feel about that.
I mean, I think it's the communication is the thing that's getting worse and worse, and season on season. It feels like you've got to go fight tooth and nail to find anything out at the minute, because they never release, like, season tickets, as you said, gone up 20%, but they never released an official like price list for any of them, because obviously you couldn't buy one unless you were in the list or whatever. So they never bothered releasing it. That's how much it is. So they hid that away. The Everton prices are insane for a fourth round EFL Cup game at home. 40 something pound for, and then if we win that, then you've got another game on top of that. The one thing they've got right is the prices of Europe, in terms of if you buy all three, it's £27 per game, or a bit more, a bit less for that, wherever you sit in. But I think they put out that Everton price, saw the backlash of that, and thought we've got to drop these prices for Europe a bit. But it's just little things, like you can't even buy, like, as a season ticket holder, you can buy extra tickets if you want to. But then they say they're advertising there's X amount of spare seats in different parts of the ground, but they're not. They're for the hospitality tickets. So there's like 50 or so tickets that pop up on the website saying there's this many tickets left in the whole end, and you think, oh, my mate might want to come to that or grab a ticket or whatever. But they're all for this terrace view, which is also taking up half of the concourse that's at the upper Holt end, which is already rammed as it is. So they're just doing things that are annoying fans, especially with that they did that questionnaire thing in the summer or the end of last season, and then just did the complete opposite of what anyone asked for. The service is still the same. It's still just as bad. They've taken away a big area of concourse, and it's just a weird time at the minute.
Yeah, and you know, the whole thing goes back to kind of that Villa, whatever area, what they wanted to call it, you know, where it would have that kind of bar area, and obviously the North Stand development's kind of been put on hold a little bit, and you know, this outside academy, you know, I don't know what's happening with that, and also who are these fans that they're talking to in these forums? Like, which fan would say, oh, I know what we'll do is if you happen to like let your mate have a ticket who's been traveling to the game with you for years, if you happen to let him have a chance on your season ticket, we'll approve them to have a lifetime ban. Which Aston Villa supporter is saying that to punish their own supporters? I don't. Where are they? Because I want to have a word with them. Because why are you denying people the opportunity to go to a game and giving them a lifetime ban for letting them dare have your away ticket? I mean, what is the world coming to when you can't go to a game with your mate? Like, get a grip. And like this whole thing about like, having to get this e-ticket download and going to meet at this secret location for a Conference League game. I mean, what is happening to clubs? Like, I really don't understand it. Like, if they're that desperate for like 20 quid or 30 quid from a ticket, then our finances are in real trouble because I don't want people taking the mick. That's different. But you've got to get the balance right between actually encouraging people, young people to go and watch the games, and young lads, who want to go, young girls and young lads who want to go to a game on Saturday or Thursday or Wednesday. You've got to get the balance right between attracting them, not making them scared to take their family member or their cousins or their mate's ticket because they might be threatened with a month or 3-month ban or whatever, losing all their history. Like, what kind of club are we turning into? Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's funny. I find it actually a bit hypocritical of Aston Villa to come out and say, if you give your ticket away, this is what you're going to get. But if they take it back, they're just going to resell it anyway to someone else. So, like, they're only doing what we would do, just because.
Well, that's the point, though, isn't it? That's the point. Yeah. It's so, like, going into
either way, someone's going to be down money, because if let's say we bought our ticket for £30, for example, we sell it for the price of what we got it for, because some people might be fair and some people would just put it up just because they want a profit. Let's say you sell it on for the price you got it for, Rich. Oh, £30, here you go. That person's down £30, but Villa still be down £30 if you gave it back to them. Oh yeah, we got £30 back. But then if someone else buys that for £30 off them, they're still down £30. Someone is still down money, regardless of the way you look at it. So, like, I think that's very hypocritical of them to turn around and say, oh, if you do this is what you're going to get. But you're going to do exactly what we would do. Like, what is the point of us not giving someone else a ticket because they're looking for them, because you don't have it, and we say, oh, we have to give it back to Aston Villa because I could be in threat of not getting my thing for Aston Villa, blah, blah, blah. And I'll put myself into example. I generally travel from Morrison from time to time. And if someone asks me, say yourself or Max or George, oh, Martin, can I use your membership number just to get myself a ticket because I'm stuck? I'd say no problem, take it. But then if you turn the flip, oh no, I can't do that, lads, because Aston Villa will threaten me and I travel from this country and I can't do this. Like, it's ridiculous. Like it's. I don't agree with it. I find it very, very hypocritical of Aston Villa to come out and do that, because they're just going to do exactly what we would do.
Yeah, I just think, I know Duncan's mentioned there, some of the issues are outside the club's control, and I do get the travel and the kind of links and stuff are out of their control, but I just think they have to take those type of things into consideration when they're talking about the, in quotes, match day experience. And then if they're trying to charge through the nose for these tickets, knowing that the transport links are bad, knowing that the concourse aren't great, knowing that the service for people isn't great, then they shouldn't be charging you upwards of 40, 45 pound for an EFL Cup third round game. Like, they just shouldn't, that we will inevitably make changes for. Like, they shouldn't be charging people 90 to 100 quid for this terrace view on the basis that they'll be guaranteed to get a drink at or be able to get a drink at half time, and then the normal plebs, what we'll call them, will pay 45 quid and they'll have to queue. Yeah, they'll have to queue for an hour just to get a drink. So, like, I just think we're in danger of isolating some people. And if they want to encourage youngsters to go and watch the game, if they want to encourage, I remember, this is way before your time, boys, but I remember going, to the Holt End, standing, 92, 93 season, getting in the ground for like 6:30, standing, like, getting to stand like where the railings are, standing on a milk crate or whatever, like, and just paying like £6-7 and just going in. Like, we're just going to stop this from happening because you're going to be charged upwards of 120, 150 quid for a family to go and watch a game, and it's not good. It's not good. And I know there's times where people offer tickets to people who can't afford it, or whatever on Twitter. Are we all of a sudden going to banish those people because they're giving away a ticket? Like, what are we doing? What message are we sending out? Which I just think it's a bad look, and I think it kind of detracts sometimes from the work that Emery and the players are doing. And I hope that we address it very soon. I know there's a new chief operating officer potentially coming in, and I just hope that this communication is right. And I hope that they don't listen to kind of 2 or 3 or 4 voices on Twitter and think that that's the kind of voice of the fans. Like, I think too many organisations, too many people kind of listen too much to rants that people have on Twitter that they don't really mean. And I think and as I say, I'd love to know who these fans that they speak to are, because I know people in like the Villa Trust, and I know that they wouldn't be saying these punishments need to be handed out to people who kind of, So something needs sorting. So that's my little rant over anyway.
Yeah.
I've been
One
thinking
thing I
about
will
that over
say
the last couple of weeks.
One thing I will say is as well is that although we probably give Purslow a bit of stick in terms of signing players, what he did do very well was the financial side of things and his explanation of why he did A, B, and C. I'll give him credit for that because he's a very good businessman. He's very good at that. He's a very good businessman, and he came across his points. This is why I'm doing this. These are the costs, so we have to open this and that. And no one calls uproar because everyone's like, right, that's fair enough. We get that. You need to get money into the club because they're spending money. And then the prices, I think, they went back down once things were finished. That is understandable. No fan would give out for that because they'll go, yep, right, I'll give you the extra few pounds because the club need it, blah, 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 blah. And then when it's sorted, they went back to normal and was like, right, that's fine then. And then, so Purcell was good in that sense. And he explained why we're doing this, why we're doing that. And that was great. And in terms of the prices, as we've just been discussing for the EFL there, Rich, is that I find it ridiculous to charge someone £45 for a tour round of the Carabao Cup. Now, Conference League, there's a cap on that because it's European caps. And I like that the Conference League, they do like these 3-match bundles. They've done it for Shamrock Rovers when they made it. So that was good. You could buy all 3. I think at that time it was like €70 to buy all 3 because this is a League of Ireland clubs. So certain clubs can only charge certain prices. Mm-hmm. And then obviously when you get to the FA Cup, that's just capped regardless because the FA Cup is kind of seen as the People's Cup. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the Premier League and they're going category A, B, C, D. Like, really? You're looking at some teams in category C and B and you're kind of going, not a hope they should be there. They should be down there. And fair enough, your top 6, maybe not Spurs, in category A. And then you've got B and you see Everton in there and you're going, what? Why should they be category B? They should be C or D.
Yeah.
And you're looking at teams
B. Sorry, man. I think they've had the categories for a while. I think people are pointing there like agreeing with you with the points on Persson and his communication. I think it does go a long way with fans, and whether you agree or disagree with what the decision is, at least you're being told about it, and at least you're being justified. And
like you could disagree and go, I don't really agree with that, but at least he's kind of said it, rather than doing what they're doing now, and there's no communication, and we're going, what's this for? Where's the communication? What happened to transparency? If you don't agree with it, fair enough, what Purcell's saying, but at least he's come out with the balls to come out and say what he's had to say, and we've gone, well, I don't agree with it, but at least you're going to put it back to normal when it's finished.
I mean, Gary made the point, imagine if we win something, the demand for tickets will hit the roof, so we'll have to improve hospitality sooner rather than later. I agree, and then obviously what you hope is they increase the hospitality but improve the other areas of the ground, which they don't seem to be doing right now, which seems to be a little bit of a bugbear for me. And also, my final point on this, before we finish up, because we've been going for an hour and 24, and my final point on this is that when it's not that long ago that we were in the Championship, right? It's not that long ago, and there's a time where there, as we all know, football works in cycles, right? And yes, there's this point now where tickets are in demand and people want to go to games, and they like I say, they're coming down hard on people that are doing this with giving tickets to other people or whatever, or letting people, or they're at least threatening that. I don't know whether that will kind of come to fruition, but I wouldn't count the chickens too quickly, because there'll be a time where they were begging fans to go to games in 2015, 2016 in the relegation season. They were begging fans to come back when we're in the Championship. Like, let's not get too ahead of ourselves right here. I know we've got a great manager, we've got a really good team, we've got a good squad, but
not get too ahead of ourselves. And there you are, Randy.
Yeah, the Premier League is unforgiving. And you have to be very careful with not isolating your fan base. And I'm not saying we are doing that, but there's a few little, the communication piece, and there's a few, parts of this since the start of the season and through pre-season that haven't been great. It started with the ticket price raises. Then it moved on to this terrace view. Then it was kind of the first home game experience, and a lot of people weren't happy with the first home game experience. We've had these kind of plans shelved with, the North Stand and all that kind of stuff, and the area around it, and what this bar that was going to happen, this kind of multi-use venue. We've had the badge issue, the club badge, and now we're using 2 badges. There's been a few things that haven't kind of sat really well with supporters, and I think you've got to be really careful as a club here that we don't lose that goodwill, or that it kind of is, it's great on the pitch, but it's not so good off it, and I think we need to be careful. But yeah, that's our little rant over. Guys, thank you so much for joining in the chat, Max and Martin. Great to be back. Great to have you boys on board. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for everyone for watching. As I say again, please do hit that like button on your way out if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We've got loads of content coming up this week. I'll hopefully have some more, kind of latest news, little videos. We'll have match preview for Crystal Palace. We'll obviously have match reaction for Crystal Palace. I want to do these fans forums more often as a bit of a side extra show to on top of the match reaction. So we'll get more fans forums on. Great to have everyone on board. Great to be back. And thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.
Villa.